الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We want to continue with من وصايا السلف للشباب. Some advice from the Salaf to the Shabab, to the youth. And again, the youth is not what we usually might think it is, as a person in their teens only, even though the teenagers fall under the category of being a shab. But, like we discussed last week, that the age of youth Islamically can reach up to 40 years, or even past 40 years to some. So this advice is not restricted to teenagers or only our children. But as some of the narrations that Sheikh Abdul Razak Hafidahullah gathered here, some of them are also to the elders. So if we don't fit in one category, it's possible we fit into the other category. So he says, Hafidahullah, al-wasaya or al-wasiyya thaniya, the second piece of advice, he says, ma ja'a an Hammad bin Zayd. Again, if we don't know who these people are, then we should record the names and go back and try to find out some of their history. Because these are people that have, they're known people in the Islamic history books. So it shouldn't be hard to find them. This is An Hammad ibn Zayd. أنه قال دخلنا على أنس ibn Sirin. There's another name, Anas ibn Sirin. Hammad ibn Zayd and Anas ibn Sirin. He said, we came in the room, or wherever he was, Ibn Sirin, Anas ibn Sirin, rahimahullah, fi mardihi, in his sickness while he was sick. So usually when they talk like this and say, fi mardihi, meaning on his deathbed, usually. He says, فقال ibn Sirin, Anas ibn Sirin said to Hammad, اتقوا الله يا معشر الشباب. He said, fear Allah, number one. Fear Allah. And there was more than one person. There was more than one person with Hammad. How do we know there was more than one person with Hammad ibn Zayd? طيب. He says, this author, number one, أخرجه الخطيب البغدادي الجامع لأخلاق الراوي وآداب السامع. He says, عن حماد بن زيد أنه قال دخلنا على أنس بن سيرين في مرضه فقال اتقوا الله يا معشر الشباب. So far, this question is only for like 3 people, 4. How do you know so far it was more than one person? Huh?
Repeat it one more time.
Repeat it one more time. جاء عن حماد بن زيد أنه قال دخلنا على أنس بن سيرين رحمه الله في مرضه.
دخلنا محشر شباب.
طيب. So it was more than one. It wasn't just Hammad by himself, but he said we دخلنا, we entered upon him. We came in the room. Anas ibn Sirin, and then he addressed them as a group, Ya Ma'shar al-Shabab. Also, he said, Ittaqu Allah, Ya Ma'shar al-Shabab. Fear Allah. The first advice he gave was to have taqwa of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Fear of Allah, and a taqwa, fear of Allah is not, it's not what we, as simple as it sounds translated. Fear Allah. But, and there are many definitions that the ulama give for what is a taqwa. What is a taqwa? Does anybody know? God consciousness.
Or okay,
Hold on. Let me rephrase the question. Not a translation of what a taqwa is, but what is it? What does it mean to fear Allah? If a person is God conscious, if a person fears Allah, what does that? How does that?
That means that they refrain from the prohibition. Refrain from the prohibition.
To refrain from the prohibition, stay away from the haram.
And to act upon that.
And to obey, be obedient. To be obedient and stay away from the haram. Therefore, being obedient alone, without staying away from the haram, meaning doing what's obligatory, praying 5 times a day, right? That is from a taqwa, but it's also from a taqwa to stay away from disobedience, and to stay away from the haram is also from a taqwa. As the ulama say, it is to fi'l ta'at, to implement the obedience to Allah, or tark al-ma'si, and stay away from disobedience. So the first thing he advised him with was being obedient and having a taqwa, fear of Allah Jalla wa Ala. He says after that, انظروا ممن تأخذون هذه الأحاديث فإنها من دينكم. He says, and pay attention, look closely to who you take these ahadith from. فإنها من دينكم, because the hadith of the Messenger ﷺ is from the religion, which is an issue that for some reason we got to ask questions and say, where are we getting our understanding from, when the advice is to the person who's teaching you, right? Person who's teaching, look to that person. Yes, there's nothing wrong with investigating the teacher. Some of the Salaf wouldn't take from people based on things that if we implemented those things, especially Ahl Hadith, if we implemented those things, that a lot of our words wouldn't even stand. His word doesn't count. You can't ask him. He was there. His word's not accepted. You got a question?
What you just said, you said you have to investigate the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So what if a person investigates the teacher, but he don't know how to investigate? He's investigating based off ignorance. He don't really know what to look for, what not to look for. He only know what he's been told.
Right.
Such as how a person may pray. So he looks at that thinking it to be something that's not cool, when in reality it's something from the Sunnah.
James, how does a person learn basically how to investigate? Which takes by self-knowledge, and that's what the next athar, the next narration is going to discuss that, which is important. Because a lot of times people just go off what they think is the best thing to do. They could be right and they could be wrong. But at the end of the day, they say, well, I didn't know what to do, so I just did it like this. But there's a narration here that's going to come, inshallah, that we can discuss that a little further. So he says, look to who you take these hadith from, because it's from your deen. Sheikh says, وهذه وصية عظيمة جدا وهي أن الشاب المقبل على طلب العلم وتحصيل الحديث ينبغي أن يكون تحصيله على أيدي أهل العلم الراسخين الأثبات. That the person who is striving to learn, it is a must, the person who's striving to learn. And I put it like that because it doesn't necessitate that you have to leave your country to learn. It doesn't necessitate that you have to leave the country. Some people think they're going to up and go to another country and then they're going to become this big student. Right? Like when you leave here, you want to be used to reading, not trying to, nothing. You're going to be used to reading 6 hours a day straight, and you don't read for 45 minutes straight now. Talib al-ilm, reading for hours, extensive hours at a time. Extensive hours at a time. You're going to leave, I don't read nothing, I don't even read an hour a day. So you're going to go somewhere, and all of a sudden, your body, your attention span, your joints sitting in the same spot are going to be used to reading 6 hours a day. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. And many of the students, the tulab that were in our classes, many of them, the stronger tulab, the stronger ones in class, correct me if I'm wrong, the stronger students in our class, they had already studied before they came. They had already studied. This was additional. I'm in Mecca. Now they like, man, I used to ask them, why you come here to study? You studied all that already? You already Mecca, man. Barahalam. Early math, civil early math, but they had already studied. And usually they were already at the top. They were already at the top of the class. So he said the person who's learning, seeking knowledge, that they have to seek knowledge from the people of knowledge. Rasikhina al-athbat. the people who have insight. Al-akabir fil ilm, the elders in knowledge. And Sheikh Abdul Razak said another explanation. There's another hadith that mentions about taking knowledge from the akabir, which is translated as elders. But he explained in another book that the elders are the people of ilm. It's not always connected to age, not always. Not always connected to age. But you gotta figure there's a difference. There's a difference in a sheikh that is 40 years old and a sheikh that's 70. They're not the same. There's a difference between a sheikh because some of the shuyukh that we know of, some of the shuyukh that are famous here in America, they're famous here. They're young, a lot of them are young. But they carry the same title, sheikh such and such. And then you say, well, no, Sheikh said, well, no, the Sheikh said, the Sheikh is like, he's my age, no disrespect. But he's not like the one who's been giving fatwa almost as long as he's been born. You with me? Sheikh is in 70, he's been giving fatwa for 30, maybe 35, 40 years. This Sheikh is 35 or 40 years old. They're not the same, so they're on different levels, which is not, there's no prohibition. There's not nothing saying that the scholars are all on the same level. That some have more knowledge than others. He said that the people that we take knowledge from should be people who have knowledge. He says, لأن, لا يأخذ العلم عن كل أحد, that we're not supposed to take knowledge from every single person. Everybody that's teaching is not worthy of taking knowledge from. It's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean that the teacher should be disrespected. It doesn't mean you got to be rude to them, but it doesn't mean that anybody and everybody that opens their mouth is worthy of listening to, and that's an issue that we're dealing with. Now, anybody opens up anything and says anything about the deen. And in reality, we don't do that in any other field where anybody just comes to say anything and we listen to them. But I don't know why we think it's okay deen. Somebody talks good, they're good speakers, and they may be good speakers. A person could be articulate, and he don't know what he's talking about. He's articulate, mashallah, he has been given Allah, blessed that person to be able to articulate and put sentence structure together in English, and it sounds good, and it moves people. But that don't necessitate that what they're saying is correct. So he said that it's not to be taken from every person. وإنما يأخذ العلم عن صاحب سنة رسخت قدمه فيها. But knowledge should be taken from a person of the sunnah that's grounded in knowledge. And brothers, grounded in knowledge, it's a long road. It's a long road. That Shaykh Abdul Majid told us. It's long, طويل جدا وأنتم في البداية. He told us that the knowledge, this is when we wanted to do that first Mecca News article, remember that? It was a man. We wanted to put together like a article. Yeah, me, shit. So we wanted to put together a newsletter with some benefits. So we went to Shaykh Abdul Majid because he gave us a lot of time, personal time. Asked him what he thought about it. Told him what we were going to do. And he said, number one, because we had class with him, if I'm not mistaken, it was on a Friday. We used to have class on Fridays after Maghrib. So we went to him Friday. Fridays was Sunday in the beginning. Then we had class Saturday. Yeah. Shaykh Abdul Majid? Friday. Nah. It was Sunday. It was a Sunday, but in Sunday at the time, the Sunday in Saudi at the time was Friday, because we was off on Thursdays and Fridays. So our week started on Saturday. So we had class after Maghrib on Friday. We took the newsletter to him and said, yeah, Sheikh, this is what we want to do. Blah, 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 blah. Sheikh said, funny. Number one, don't bring this kind of stuff to me during the time of our dust. If y'all want to talk about this, I'll set another time for y'all to come by and we can talk about this. right, from the door. Then he said, secondly, I don't want y'all to start, and at the time, I finished them. They were already in the kulliyah. They might have been there 4 years now. They might have been not for 4 years now. Y'all finished? The Ma'had? La. I was translating at the time, and there's no way I was translating in the first level of the Ma'had. If y'all finished the Ma'had, I was still in the Ma'had. I wasn't going to translate in the kulliyah. So y'all been there at least 3 years. At least 3 years they've been there studying, right? He said, I don't want y'all to think, because y'all translated a couple of fatwas from Sheikh bin Baz, that y'all reach some level of ilm. The road they're in knowledge is long. It's a long road. Jiddan. It's a long road. And y'all in the beginning. And I'm just crushed, crumbled, crumbs. And I'm telling you, I know I had to be, because I think I was done in my eye, which means they were there 4 years. I was there 2 years at the time. So hey, he said, that's how you know y'all was done in my eye. He said, listen, y'all right now at the beginning. And what I hope for y'all is that y'all do more. He started talking about something else. He said, but if y'all had enough, if what y'all had was enough right now, then y'all could leave Mecca. If y'all had enough at this point, y'all could leave and just go translate, speak translators. Right now, y'all don't have anything. They were there at least 3 or 4 years. I was there like 2 years, just finished the Arabic program. If y'all think that's enough, if y'all think y'all did enough, y'all can go now. Y'all got enough to just benefit a couple people here and there, your family a little bit. He said, but I hope for y'all bigger things. And this is just to show that the idea that we have and the mentality that ulama see for us coming back to a place like this is not the same. They see us, and this was around the time when Barack Obama got elected. He said, I hope for y'all to go back. He said, I hope bigger for y'all than just finishing the language program and translating. I want hope bigger for y'all, but I hope for y'all to go back and affect y'all city and inshallah affect America. That was when Obama, he said, you see what just happened with Obama getting elected? He went into all that, right? That if y'all really do something, that anything's possible. And I don't know how we got there, but he would advise us stuff like that, that it wasn't enough. And that's why he says here that knowledge is not to be taken from every person. It should be taken from people who have studied, and they have studied the Sunnah, and they have some ground, some foundations in knowledge. He says, فَعَنْ ابن شوذب رحمه الله قال إن من نعمة الله على الشاب إذا تنسك أن يواخي صاحب سنة يحمله عليها. He says, from the blessing of Allah on a person is that when they want to worship, and this brings a point that he brought up, Sheikh brought up, is that the person that guides them during that worship is a person of the Sunnah. That's a ni'mah. Some people have to go through a bunch of different groups before they find the Sunnah. They have to go through this group and that group and that group, and they say, I used to do this and I used to do that. Then alhamdulillah, 7 years later, Allah guided me to a brother, he taught me this and he told me I was doing this wrong. He said from the ni'mah is that a person, when they worship, that they have somebody that is from Ahl Sunnah to carry them and show them the way. And he mentions 2 more athar related with the same idea, that it's a blessing that a person has a friend that teaches them, that can teach them the Sunnah. A person from Ahl Sunnah that can teach them what is the Sunnah and what the Sunnah isn't, which is something that we have to get back to, being able to talk to each other without, one, the person teaching, without the person that's teaching, being arrogant, without the person that's teaching, stepping on people and making the person that you're talking to feel bad. One, from that angle, and from the other angle, the receiver, the person that is learning, we have to, as men, especially the brothers, the men, we can't be so sensitive. We can't be so sensitive. Sometimes we're wrong, and the brother that loves you, inshallah, he's going to tell you you're wrong. He's going to tell you you're wrong. Hopefully he does it with some adab, right? Hopefully he does it with some adab. Or the sister, that sometimes we have to be corrected. How do we let each other go and don't say anything? The Prophet ﷺ said, Adina nasiha. Liman, qala liman. From the people, they said, nasiha, from the people that he mentioned is the general Muslims, that we help each other. But when we do that, it should be with kindness and gentleness, showing that you want good for the person. Showing that you want good for the person. As he says in the next narration, if you see a young man that is raised, إذا رأيت الشباب, and this is عن عمرو بن قيس الملائي رحمه الله قال إذا رأيت الشاب أول ما ينشأ مع أهل السنة والجماعة فرجه. He said, if you see a young person, and from the beginning, the first time you saw them, they were always a person trying to follow the sunnah and hope good for this person. Why? Because, as he says, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَهُ مَا أَهْلِ الْبِدَعِ فَيْأَسْ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّ الشَّابَ عَلَى أَوْلِ النُّشُوءِ. If you see him with a person that's practicing innovation, they're going astray from the beginning, then he says you should fear for that person, because usually, generally, a person follows, and what sticks is what they learn first. What they learn first usually sticks. And that means what? If you learn something wrong and it sticks with you, what do you have to do? Huh? Relearn. And that's why when you learn Quran incorrectly, it's difficult to go back and relearn it. When you recite Al-Fatiha incorrect, for however many years you've been Muslim, when you finally figure out that you've been reciting it wrong the whole time, it's difficult to relearn it. It takes a lot of effort to go back and relearn it. And part of relearning is with our adab, our behavior, that a lot of us generally, we're used to chaos. We're used to fitna. We're used to back and forth. We're used to, I'm with them and they're with them. That's what we're used to. Many of us, that's where we come from. I don't care what he does. He's from my block. I don't care if he's dead wrong. We stick together no matter what. That's where we come from, a lot of us. And a lot of us drag that into the deen. So when the brother's incorrect or the sister's wrong, we don't know how to separate deen from what we're used to. That means it's a behavior we got to relearn. We got to relearn how to decipher right from wrong. This is not that. This is not the street. This is Islam. Right is right and wrong is wrong. He says, Al-Wasiyya al-Thalitha, the third piece of advice, ما جاء عن مالك ibn Dinar rahimahullah. This is an important name. Malik ibn Dinar. Malik ibn Dinar. أنه قال, he said, إنما الخير في الشباب. That goodness, all goodness is only found in the youthful time, that youthful time of your life. Shaykh Abdul Razak Hafidullah says, هذا تنبيه عظيم من مالك بن دينار رحمه الله لأهمية هذه المرحلة. This shows how important that those years are. Those years, those golden years of our lives are. وأن الشباب إذا أحسن استغلالها حصل خير عظيما. That if a person uses those years and they benefit from those years, that they're going to gain a lot of goodness. They're going to gain a whole lot of goodness. He says, وَأَصْبَحَ مَا حَصَّلَهُ فِي شَبَابِهِ رَكِيزَةً وَعُمْدَةً وَأَصْلًا ثَابِتًا يَبْقَى مَعَهُ إِلَى مَمَاتِهِ. And whatever he learns in those times, whatever he learned in those years, it becomes like a treasure for him to carry on for the rest of his life. It becomes a pillar that sticks with him or her for the rest of their lives when they learn it early. That's why you find a lot of tahfidh programs, they start early. When you read the biographies of the Salaf, you see a lot of them learn the Quran early. And everything after that, after you memorize the first time, then they have what? What's after that? After you memorize the Quran the first time, then what? Huh? Review it. Memorize it again, they call it. Al-Hifz al-Thani. That's what they call it. They call it a second memorization. Now you imagine if you did that twice, and when we think young, let's use our terms now, young, you did that twice by the time you were 15. You memorized the Quran twice by the time you were 15. It sticks, right? It's going to stick. It's more likely to stick. Not that you can't do it later, because many people memorize the Quran, and many stories of people memorize the Quran older than everybody in this room. Many people. Not Arabs, just like us. With jobs just like us. They got families just like us. It's no excuse. There's many stories. But when it's young like that time is a serious time. He says if a person benefits from that time of their life, then that knowledge becomes a solid pillar for them that will stick with them for the rest of their lives, that they will benefit themselves with, and that they may be able to benefit other people with. He says, and the opposite is the same. The opposite of the same. He says, if a person doesn't benefit during that time of their life, and they do what? If a person doesn't benefit from that time of their life, then they waste that time. They wasted that time of their lives, and they did not gain the full benefit and the full blessings that are in that time frame. Which is why the title of the class is Stop Wasting Time. We don't have time to waste. We don't have time to waste. People will waste your time. And a lot of times, y'all, we see the stuff right in front of us, but we be scared to call a spade a spade. Like, we're scared. Like, boy, wasting my time. He's just wasted 30 minutes talking about nothing. And you know he wasted 30 minutes talking about nothing. You know she wasted your 30 minutes, and then you see her again, and you see him again, and you let him do it again. Call a spade a spade. It's a waste of time. I got no benefit out of it. We got to find ways to move around that and benefit. Because we don't have what we think we have. We don't have the time that we think we have. He says, وَعِنْدَمَا يَجْتَمِعُ لِلشَّابِ. He says, in this case here, he said if a person has quwwat al-shabab, that they're in that time of their life where they have their strength. And on top of that, they have وَفَرَاغُ الْوَقْتِ, and they have free time. He says, وَوَفْرَةُ الْمَالِ بِالْيَدِ, and on top of that they have money. They have some money to spend. He says, فَهَذِهِ تَكُونُ مُهْلِكَةً لَهُ. This combination, that a person is young in their youth with their strength, they have a bunch of free time and a bunch of money. He said this is a combination that can destroy a person. This could be destructive. He says, it's a piece of poetry. It sounds better in Arabic. It says, كما قال قائل إن الشباب والفراغ والجدة مفسدة للمرء أي مفسدة. That those three things basically, if a person has that they can be destructive for a person. That they have what? They have their youth, their strength. They're in the best physical time of their life. They have free time. And we know the hadith about benefiting from your youth before your death, your good health before your sickness, right? Your free time before you're busy. All that comes in the hadith. So they take those things, he made a line of poetry. He says, if those things, he says, if you add to those three things, فَإِذَا انضَمَّ إِلَى قُوَّةِ الشَّبَابِ, if you add to those three things, he says, أَمْرٌ رَابِعٌ وَهُوَ كَثْرَةُ الْفِتْنِ. He said, if you add on all top of those things, a bunch of fitna, like we're going through right now. We in a bunch of fitna. He says, they said this, they don't understand this, they said don't do this, He said this about him. He said, you add on a bunch of fitna. He said, وَقُرْبُهَا مِنَ الشَّبَابِ, and that the fitna is right there. This relates to us. It's right here in front of us. He says, وَكَثْرَةُ أَبْوَابُهَا, and that it's a bunch of doors to the fitna. Fitna is on the internet. It's all over Facebook. It's fitna on. It's fitna on Instagram. It's fitna on all of them, all of the social media. It's some khayr, there's some benefit on there, but it's fitna on it. You get off the phone, come to the masjid, it's fitna in the masjid. Right? It's fitna, and there's a bunch of pathways to it. He said, فَهَذِهِ مِنْ أَعْظَمْ مُهْلِكَاتِ لِلشَّابِ الَّتِي يجري بها على مرحلة شبابه جناية عظيمة. These things can be destructive on a person, and it will take away from that blessed time that they are living in. Allahu musta'an. It said that it will be, use the word jarima, a crime, literally. Jarima is a crime. That these things, they're destructive for a person, and it will destroy that time period. It will destroy that time period, as he says, a jinaya alima, a serious crime that a person wastes their time, and that they're busy with those things, and they're not busy with getting closer to Allah Jalla wa Ala. He says, وَيُفَوِّتُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ خَيْرَ الشَّبَابِ وَبَرَكَتِهِ. And what happens? He says he misses the khayr, the goodness that's in that time, and the barakah, the blessings that are found in that time of his life. We all know, we can sit here and say, Allah musta'an. I know me personally, I know the time I wasted. That's why me personally, I don't bother with people. I don't care what they put on Twitter. I don't, because I know I wasted enough time. I don't care what they put on. If it's going to be anything, we can sit and talk like men. Anything other than that, I don't have time to waste. Because I wasted too much time that I already got an answer for before a while. I can't continue wasting time when I know for sure, without a doubt, from what I know, you're just wasting time. If I had a problem with you, it's real easy. As a man, it's real easy. I'm not going to do it in front of listening. Go to the side, maybe go get some coffee, talk to you outside, buy you a pack of M&Ms, right? Try to soften the blow. Anything other than that, I can't waste time, because I don't have it. And we have to look at it like that. And when we read these narrations, you'll see they didn't operate. The Salaf didn't operate like that. Just moseying around, just getting involved in everything. Every time a text message comes through, we entertain it. Every time a post go up, we entertain. They didn't do that. And that's the point of reading these narrations. Hopefully, start with myself, hopefully that we can take these narrations and take the mentality, because the biggest thing is the mentality. Because they're praying the same sunnah prayers that we pray. They're fasting the same days throughout the month. Mondays and Thursdays are Mondays and Thursdays. It's not like a different day came. The white days are the white days. Witr is witr. They're praying the same, they're doing the same worship that we know of. But what's the difference? The mentality is different. It's not the same mentality. It says, for Malik ibn Dinar, rahimahullah, he used to say this, that all goodness is found in that youthful time. تنبيه منه على عظم البركة والخير في هذه المرحلة إذا وفق الله الشاب وأعانه على استغلالها في ما يرضيه. He said, the point of saying that statement, all goodness is in this time, is, he says, that is if Allah blesses a person to take advantage of that time. It's tawfiq from Allah. Right? That if Allah blesses a person to take advantage of that time and He aids a person on doing the things that are pleasing to Him, this is when the person has benefited from that time. He says next, al-wasiya al-rabiya, the fourth piece of advice. It says, وَمِنْ وَصَايَ السَّلَفِ رَحِمَهُ اللَّهُ لِلشَّبَابِ مَا جَاءَ عَنْ زَيْدٍ ibn Abi Zarqa. Zayd ibn Abi az-Zarqa. This is another name. وَخَرَجَ, he says, قَالَ خَرَجَ سُفْيَانِ يعني الثَّوْرِي. I think Sufyan al-Thawri is probably known to most of us. If he's not, then shame on you. Okay? But it's not hard to find out. Sufyan al-Thawri. خرج سفيان يعني سفيان الثوري. سفيان الثوري وَنَحْنُ عَلَى بَابِهِ. He said, we were standing at his door. Sufyan al-Thawri came out of the house, or whatever he was coming out. We were standing at the door waiting for him. So, this is a two-way street. It's a two-way street. We spoke about this last week, that Sufyan didn't, as we say, he didn't snap on him. Right? Because sometimes we come out of our houses, right? And who's outside? Who's outside? A bunch of young bulls out there, right? Bulls out there. They might be doing something they're supposed to be doing. Right? Sometimes, at least here, a lot of times, they Muslims. So, they Muslims. طيب. Sufyan, rahimahullah, came out, he said, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, ta'ajjalu barakata hadha al-ilm. فإنكم لا تدرون لعلكم لا تبلغون ما تؤملون منه ليفضي بعضكم بعضا. He said, تعجلوا بركة هذا العلم. It said basically take advantage انتهزوا فرصة شبابكم واغتنموها لتحصلوا العلم. Take advantage of your time, right? Take advantage of your time and gain knowledge, to gain some knowledge. He says, why لأن الإنسان, because a person إذا كبر لا يكون عنده من النشاط. And this is stuff we already know, but it's worth hearing. It's worth hearing. It says, why? Why is the encouragement to take care of your time in your younger years? Because when a person gets older, they don't have the same activity like they used to have. They don't move around as fast as they used to. They need more time, right, to get ready and get out the house. Or they need to get in the house earlier in order to wind down and get ready for the next day. He says, well, that and their memory is not as strong as it used to be. If we don't know, that the memory weakens, the eyesight weakens, the hearing, right? It weakens. Those senses, they begin to weaken. He says, وَالْقُدْرَةَ عَلَى الْإِسْتِذْكَارِ مِثْلَهَا هُوَ فِي مَرْحَلَةِ الشَّبَابِ. He said, and their ability to remember things is not like it used to be when they were younger. We don't have time to waste. We're going to memorize Quran when? When are we going to start memorizing Quran? When are we going to really start producing some hafal? When are the parents going to take responsibility for pushing their children the same way we push them to play sports? Ain't nothing wrong with sports. But when are we going to take that push that we push for our children to be what? The ticket, right? The ticket in the dunya. Because we worried about the dunya. If I got 3 sons, then what? Huh? But what's the thing? If I got 3 of them, one of them got to make it somewhere for that check. Not if I got 3 sons, one of them be a hafiz, one of them be religious and make dua for me when I die. How about that? No, but if I got 3 sons, one of them got to be able to make it. I got to get one of them, which is cool. But if it's going to be at the expense of his deen, what's going to be the benefit if you got millions of dollars and you dead and he's not praying for you? What's the real benefit? Right? Nothing wrong with sports. Nothing wrong with $1 million in the check and one of them making it. I'm not saying that. But we got to be balanced. We got to be balanced. And a lot of times, this is a benefit of living with the Muslims. That I saw people in Mecca, if they came here, we had neighbors. If they came here, brothers probably wouldn't even give them salams. They shout out, courting us. Brothers probably wouldn't even give them salams. Wouldn't even talk to them, wouldn't even entertain them, because they don't look how we think they're supposed to look. But them people, them same people, they never miss Salat al-Fajr. Front row, never. I know they hard pressed to see them listen to Salat al-Fajr. And guess what? They make sure their kids get the Quran class 5 days a week. If they can't take them, they pay money for a driver to take their kids to learn the Quran. Right? That's on the parents. That's not on the children. It's a group effort that we got. We see there's some benefit in getting $1 million check. That's good. But there's also some benefit on having some righteous kids that if they die, that they make dua, that Allah forgives us. He says after that, he says, the weakness of all of those senses, he says, إِضَافَةً إِلَى مَا يَكْتَنِفُهُ مِن مَسْئُولَاتٍ. On top of that, what a person takes on from responsibility the older they get. The older we get, the more what? More responsibility, the more children. And not just children, because at first it's easy. They're 2 and 3 and still, next thing you know, they're teenagers. Next thing you know, the daughters. You worry about, you gotta marry your daughters off. Right? And the responsibility grows and grows, which means a person doesn't have the same free time that they had before. He said, وَأَعْمَالٍ مَشَاغِلٍ وَمَصَالِحٍ. He said all of these things begin to busy a person. Well, of course, in the younger days, they didn't have any responsibilities. All we had to do was wake up, eat, and play. That was it. No bills. No bills, no worries. I talked to a brother yesterday, but they never told me. I never knew the bills just kept coming. They just keep coming. Like they don't stop at all. They're going to send it and then send it again. So if I don't pay it, they still going to send me another one. And it don't stop. That the responsibilities keep building. He says also that time period, that golden age, that golden time period of a person's youth, he says, Al-Marha Shabab Tanqadi Sari'an, that is over quickly. Just like that. And that's how life goes. We think we got a lot of time, but then we say, what? 20 years ago. 15 years ago, just like that. Say, that was 15 years? He says, كما قال الإمام أحمد رحمه الله شبهت الشاب إلا بشيء كان في كمي فسقط. He brings a statement here from Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. After discussing the fact that the quickness, how fast the time goes, and all of these things come, or a lot of them come from a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. That at the end of time, the time will be moving fast. There's a lot of narration from the Messenger ﷺ, and then you find statements from the Salaf after that, that in reality they're extracted from statements of the Prophet ﷺ. The quickness of time passing. We're going to wrap it up, so I'm going to just go to finish the narration, where he said that take advantage, fear Allah, take advantage of your youth by learning. He says, why? He says, فَإِنَّكُمْ لَا تَدْرُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ لَا تَبْلُغُونَ مَا تُؤَمِّلُونَ مِنْهُ. He said that a person, you don't know if you're going to reach that age that you're talking about. I'm going to start memorizing. I'm going to start learning when I turn 30. What makes you think you're going to reach 30? You might not believe it, but there are people who say, when I reach 40, I'm going to start practicing Islam. As if we're guaranteed to reach that age. So he said, you don't know. You don't know if you're going to reach what you hope to reach. He says that the person, he could hope to do this and that. And I'm going to memorize this, I'm going to read this, I'm going to do this. And other things that they may hope to do, but they never get to do it. They never get to do it. Right? The hope is there, but they never get to do it. We don't have this promise. He says, وَلَكِنْ إِذَا جَاهَدَ النَّفْسَ وَاسْتَعَانَ بِاللَّهِ وَحَرِسَ عَلَى اغْتِنَامِ مَرْحَلَةِ الشَّبَابِ فَإِنَّهُ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ يُحَصِّلُ خَيْرًا عَظِيمًا. But if they take advantage of what they have right now, and they seek Allah's help, seeking Allah's aid, that inshallah that they will benefit, that Allah will benefit them with a lot. They will benefit a lot. He will reach a lot of good, inshallah ta'ala. And then he brings the ayat where Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who fight in our cause, they strive for Allah Jalla wa Ala, that we will guide them to our path. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And Allah is with the good doers, those who do good. And then the last statement, we'll stop here, is the statement, لِيُفِدْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. He said, after telling them to fear Allah, it was a group of them, after telling them to fear Allah, and after telling them that you don't know if you're going to reach that time that you're talking about reaching, because none of us are promised tomorrow, he says, this is an encouragement at the end, the shabab ala ightinam li liqa'atihim ba'dhum bil-fa'ida nafi'a. He said, this is an encouragement to, when they do gather and meet each other, when they gather and meet each other, that they do what? Benefit one another. Bring some benefit. He says, وَحُسْنُ تَذَاكِرُ الْعِلْمِ. And review some knowledge, review. It might be difficult to picture, but there are people who meet and their only purpose of meeting is to read a book together. Right? The people who meet, and they say, listen, I need to go over page 40 to page 65. Where can you meet me at? And that's what they meet for. I don't understand this. And they meet, and they don't go into, it's about that, benefit. And then they sit there for hours. And I'm not trying to exaggerate, I'm being honest. They sit there for hours, going through those pages. They may finish, they might not finish. They may have to come back and meet again for what? Benefit. And if you haven't seen it, it's possible that it could be difficult to picture if you've never seen it before. But if you've seen it before, it's a beautiful thing. And once you see that, it's easier to see when people are benefiting, when people are not benefiting. Because it's too much. It's too much that we need that we're not getting to be wasting time. So we'll stop there, inshallah ta'ala. And I don't know if there are any questions. If there are any questions, hold on.
One of the things that I noticed with parents, because you touched on parents and about wasting time and the responsibility of the parents. In this society, it teaches us that we have responsibilities to our children. And those responsibilities are usually physical, mental, emotional. There's always no regulation for spiritual. My question is, for Muslims, parents, is it a form of abuse to spiritually abuse your child? Like to go out of your way to make sure that, like you said, the basketball or cheerleading or whatever it may be, and I can't say purposely neglect, but just totally neglect that other aspect of it. You know, part sending them to Quran or, you know, teaching them things like that, because we see that, and it's like enough for them to just say that they Muslim and put it over on Friday for the boys, put a chemo on his daughter, but when you talk to these children, they don't know anything about Islam. So is it a form of abuse?
Abuse?
Yeah, definitely abuse. That's what I'm saying.
That's no doubt. Neglect, no doubt. No doubt, neglect. The level of abuse, Allah, no doubt, neglect. And every person, the parents, right, the men and the women, every person is responsible for their flock. The man is responsible for his family. If you can't teach them, you need to put them in an environment where they can learn something. If you can't teach them, then you shouldn't have a problem with your wife teaching them. If you can't teach your wife, you need to put her in position to be able to learn. Why would you want to keep your wife ignorant? As some people like to do. Keep your wife ignorant. She don't know how to worship Allah. Right? If we're not able to do it, we should be trying to put them in a position that they can't do it. I'm sorry, that they can do it. I can't give it to you, but I can direct you to somewhere you can get it. To do nothing and just leave it, like we did enough. We got Muslim names. We identify as being Muslims with the way we look. We associate with people and we don't know anything. And we think that's going to hold us when we leave outside of these doors. All the fitna that's out there waiting for us. It's July, all of the fitna out there. Everything that's going on out there. We don't learn and strengthen our iman with Allah, and we think we're going to be okay. We think our children are going to be able to go to school and camps and wherever they're going to be okay. That's going to be on, number one, the parents have a responsibility. Number one, the parents have a responsibility. It doesn't mean, don't necessitate that we have to go to extremes on either side. But there has to be some balance. We have to raise the level of respect for learning. We have to. And if we don't, then we can't be mad when the result comes in 10 years. When the result really comes out and you see it in your children 10 years later, 5 years later, when he reaches of age, when the boy really start, as we say, he really start feeling himself, then we wondering why. When she really start developing, we wondering why they don't want to do. Why? Well, what have we done to prepare them for when they get to that stage? Allah Alam if it's abuse, but we don't want to be neglectful because all of the parents are responsible. They're under our order at that point. They follow, as I say, it's me. You're a child. You take orders right now. You follow directions. You don't know what you're doing. That's why it's my responsibility to tell you what to do and tell you to do it right, based on my ability to do that. And if I don't know what I'm doing, that's a bigger problem. If the parents don't know what they're doing, then Allah musta'an. And Allah forgive us. Any other questions?
What was the first advice? I missed that.
The first one was what? Abu Dawood. Abu Dawood wrote it down. La ilaha illallah. Which one? From this narration?
Yeah.
Or from today?
No, you started with the second advice today.
Oh, last week. I don't know. You know that. But yeah,
Just briefly.
that was a long jump. I'll read it because it's a benefit. The first advice was عن أبي أحوص عن أبي الأحوص قال أبو إسحاق وهو عمرو بن السبيعي. He said, يا معشر الشباب اغتنموا شبابكم أي شبابكم. Take advantage, he said, oh, you take advantage of your youthful time. And then in the first advice, it was basically, they were encouraging the youth to do worship by telling them what the worship is that they did. So it's not just I'm telling you to stand up and pray at night. I'm going to tell you what I do at night as an encouragement for the people that they were talking to do the same thing. So he told them, قَلَّمَا تَمُرُّ بِي لَيْلَةٌ إِلَّا أَقْرَى فِيهَا آيَةٌ. He said, it's very rare that a night passes me and I don't read 1,000 ayat from the Quran. And then he said, وَإِنِّي لَأَقْرَأُ الْبَقْرَةَ فِي رَكْعَةٍ. He said, and I read Surah Al-Baqarah in one rak'ah. I read the Surah Al-Baqarah in one rak'ah. وَإِنِّي لَأَصُومُ أَشْهَرُ الْحُرُمِ. And I fast those sacred months. وَالثَّلَاثَةَ أَيَّامٍ مِنْ كُلِّ شَهْرٍ. And I fast 3 days from every month. وَالْإِثْنَيْنِ وَالْخَمِيسِ. And I also fast on Mondays and Thursdays. And then he read the ayat from Surah Al-Duha. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the blessing of your Lord, then inform the people of the blessing of your Lord. Speak on the blessing of your Lord. And it was another narration that went along the same lines, and it was explained to be that he mentioned, not out of to show off, telling them his good deeds, but as an encouragement, بالفعل, with action. I'm not just telling you to do it, that I do it. It's doable. Because sometimes we read this stuff, we say like they was superhuman beings or something. Right? No, that was dumb. We can't do that. We tried to do it. We got to try first. We'll stop this. We can pray with sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, Muhammad, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.